What language is closest to English? Good question. But first, roll that intro. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Julian Northbrook from doingenglish.com, here today with another in the English, History and Linguistics series. Good question. What language is the closest to English? It's a good question, but as with many in the topic of English history, English linguistics in general, it depends. Depends on what, you ask? Well, it depends on whether you consider Scots to be a language or to be a dialect. That is, Scots as in the thing spoken in Scotland, but which is distinct from Scottish Gaelic, which is very much a separate language, Scottish English. Scots, is it a language? Is it a dialect? We're not really sure, and indeed, this is a contentious issue in general in linguistics and among language experts, because we really don't have a good definition of what constitutes a language versus what constitutes a dialect. Different people have different opinions, and there tends to be a lot of argument which goes absolutely nowhere. And while there are people who do believe Scots to be a separate language, many also say that it's a dialect. And personally, I'm inclined to take that viewpoint simply because Scotland has Scottish Gaelic, which again is very much a distinct language. And well, compared with that, Scots to me sounds like a dialect. Not a very technical or well thought out opinion, to be sure, but hey, as a working definition, I reckon it's as good as any. So Scots out of the way, what then is the closest language to English? Well, that would be Frisian. Or should I say the Frisian languages? Because this is another one of those, is it a dialect, is it a language kind of issues? Or should that be the Frisian languages? Because this is another one of those contentious issues. Are they dialects or are they languages? But roughly, Frisian can be split into three. We have West Frisian, which is spoken by about 450,000 people in parts of the Netherlands. Then we have North Frisian, which is spoken by about 8,000 people in the Schleswig-Holstein area of Germany. And then we have Sater Frisian, which is spoken by about 2,000 people in the German state of Lower Saxony. All of these together really constitute what we call the Frisian language. And yes, it would be considered the most similar language to English. But how similar to English is it? Honestly, not very. You see, English and Frisian both share a common ancestor. They both come from Germanic, which became West Germanic, later Anglo-Frisian, and then at about the time the Anglo-Saxons started to migrate over to what is now England, the languages split into Old English and Old Frisian. Old English later mixed with French after the Norman invasion, becoming Middle English and then later Modern English. Old Frisian, on the other hand, simply became Frisian. What this means is that there are lexis, words shared by both languages. And often, if you see them written down, they're actually quite hard to recognize. But if you hear them said out loud, they're quite obvious. Words like day, which in English is spelled D-A-Y and in Frisian is spelled D-E-I. Again, seeing them written down, you can't really recognize them at all. But if you're listening to someone speaking Frisian, you can pick out words here or there. But in general, it kind of sounds like a language that you should understand, but actually don't. But in general, an English speaker can't really understand it. And in fact, to me, it actually just sounds like Dutch, with a few English-sounding words sprinkled in for good fun. This said, apparently the Dutch don't really understand it particularly well either, although perhaps they have a better time of it than the English do. I must say, Frisian is not exactly high on my list of languages to learn. However, of course, if I were going to learn Frisian, I would start by focusing on those words that are shared between English and Frisian, learning those first and then learning the common vocabulary. And of course, as I were doing that, I wouldn't want to forget what I was learning, which is why I would follow the principles laid out in my new book. English Learning Done Right. How your brain wants you to learn English or indeed any other skill so that it never, ever forget. If you struggle with learning words or phrases or expressions in English and then just forgetting them 5 seconds after, you're definitely going to want to check this bad boy out. It's available on Amazon Kindle, and as always, it comes with a complete audio version for your listening enjoyment. There's a URL in the resources section at the back. All you've got to do is register the book and the audio gets sent to you. Link in the description, or EnglishLearningDoneRight.com. Dutch, on the other hand, is a language which appeals to me more and more and more. Enough so that I'd actually quite like to have a crack at learning it. Not that I actually need Dutch in day-to-day life, or indeed, like, ever. But hey, it seems like an interesting language to learn, so why not? Do you have any questions about the history of the English language or indeed English linguistics? If you do, ask away in the comments, and if it's a good one, I might answer it in a future video in this series. And in the meantime, this is me, Julian Northbrook, signing out from another video. Take care, don't get caught doing anything that I wouldn't do, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Have you ever wondered why the UK has so many different accents? How about the origins of the word English itself? Watch this video and this video to find out more.